The cop was there. He told me, he said, don't you even show up in court. I said, I wouldn't think of it. I'll just pay it. How dare him tell me not to come to court and exercise my right to protest an unfair ticket. But yeah, I went there and I put on and it worked. And then I got outside and the police officer followed me outside and said, you don't look like that. He shouldn't have followed me out the courtroom. That's ridiculous. That you're intimidating me.
Yeah.
You have a gun and I have some Botox. It's not equal.
You're listening to She's Got Drive podcast, the podcast that inspires women to be a driver in their own life with the life and stories of Black women with drive. And I'm your host, Shirley McAlpine. I'm a business consultant, an executive coach, and a leadership facilitator working with people and organizations to live their lives by design and not default. Welcome back to another episode of She's Got Drive. Welcome back. And in this episode, we have the wonderful Dr. Jeanine Downie, who is a certified dermatologist, and I'll tell you more about her in a minute. But we sat down together and had this wonderful, fruitful, long conversation, and this was actually happened last year. And so I really wanted to post this now, and I just really valued our time together. It was such a beautiful time together. So I want to say that it warms my heart when I think about how we were when we met up for this interview. A rare occasion that I actually meet people face to face, and it was just gorgeous at a time when she was in Chicago. Before we go into that interview, one of the things that I've been sitting with I've been thinking about is how sometimes we need to slow down in order to speed up. And what do I mean by that? I mean, sometimes we're moving so fast in terms of what we want to achieve, where we want to be, what we want to accomplish, that we miss so much. And then in the missing, we're not able to really get to what we want in the time frame that we want to achieve it. So I've been thinking more about what do I need to do to slow things down, and particularly the pace of what's happening out in the world, which really impacts us so much. And so I know it's impacting me so deeply. So how have I been trying to slow things down? And ironically, my running that I've reintroduced in the last few weeks has really been helping me to slow down. It's ironic because of course I'm running, but to slow down, like slows down my mind in order to move more effectively forward. Another is a practice around meditation, which has come back into my life, that has allowed me to really slow things down, that is enabling me to be more effective, allowing me to slow down my thoughts so I can really reflect and think about what is it that I want. Allow me to slow down to see what are the decisions that I want to make and need to make. So I share this with you to see if this could be helpful, is where in your life can you slow it down in order to ultimately move faster, to get to where you want to in a much shorter time. So I wanted to share that with you. Slow down to go fast. I also want to talk about my She's Got Drive journals and the gratitude journal particularly. So I've got the She's Got Drive journals and on Amazon, and I've got a gratitude journal that I put out that's really aimed at women sort of making every day count. The link is in the show notes for that. I really want to encourage you to start a daily practice of gratitude, because we know that when we are practicing gratitude, the impact that it has on our life can be immense. That positive psychology, the positive impact when we are present to what we have each day versus what we don't have. So I've created this 30 days of gratitude journal, and I would recommend that you get it off Amazon or you buy it as a gift as well. It's beautiful designed. I was co-designed with my niece Natasha, to co-design with Love. I love working with her. And so please, links in the show notes, grab your copy of the She's Got Drive gratitude journal, or send it as a gift. It's a beautiful gift for someone. See what shows up for you after 30 days in your life after practicing that. Okay, so let me tell you about Dr. Jeanine Downie. Dr. Jeanine Downie is a licensed dermatologist, and she's certified by the American Board of Dermatology. Her reputation for excellence and personal patient care have made her one of the most sought after physicians. She graduated from Tufts University with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology and Biology and got her medical degree in 1992. She's a sought-after lecturer and author of several dozen scientific papers. She's been featured on television, on The View, Good Morning America, The Today Show, The Rachel Ray Show, The Good Day New York, Fox 5 News, BET News, Channel 5. She's been in the New York Times. She's been in LA Times. She's been in Essence Magazine, Teen Vogue, InStyle, Cosmopolitan, Harper's Bazaar, Ebony, O Magazine. She has been, she was a contributor to the Living Beauty Bobby Brown Beauty Evolution book, as well as Hair Rules by Anthony Dickey. And she's got her own book, which is Beautiful Skin of Color, which provides men and women with the comprehensive information they need to care for their dark, olive, and Asian skins, which is her first book. And it was her first book. So she's so experienced and a deep expert, has so much to give us and guide us, and has such a fascinating story as well. So you're gonna love Dr. Jeanine Downie. I loved her. You're gonna love her. So I give you Dr. Jeanine Downie. Jeanine, thank you so much for being a guest on She's Got Drive.
Thank you, Shirley, for having me, and this is exciting. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, it feels like a long time coming. I've wanted to interview you and sit with you for a long time, and so I feel very privileged to be able to spend this time with you, and I'm excited to find out more about you and how you got to being this phenomenal woman that you are.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, my name is Dr. Jeanine Downie. I practice at Image Dermatology, my own practice in Montclair, New Jersey. I am a board-certified dermatologist. I focus on cosmetic dermatology specifically. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I look at someone's face and I figure out the best way to anti-age them, to slow down their aging, to spin back a couple of years. I also look at bodies and how to anti-age bodies and what to do with that as well. Mm-hmm. And most of my procedures are minimally invasive or non-invasive. And my patients really respond very well. What I explain to my patients is that your face is really your most important accessory because that's what you carry with you every day. Mm-hmm. That's what people see. You know what I'm saying, Shirley? You know, you want to just make sure that you look and feel your best. Nobody wants to be the old guy or the old gal at the office anymore. That's not what it's about. And looking and feeling your best vis-a-vis, you know, our economic success. I tell people that looking and feeling your best, it's about your economic viability in terms of how you do in the workplace, and then it's about your social and romantic viability in terms of how you're doing, you know, feeling wise about yourself in your personal life. Right. And so people are coming in for economic and realizing, oh, this has personal implications, or they're coming in for personal reasons. They just went through a divorce, they're just getting married, you know, whatever it happens to be, and they realize, oh, this has economic implications. I can look better and put my best face forward at work. So I'm encouraging people to put their best face and their best body forward. And so I have a lot of fun with that.
Okay, so the other thing I want to let you know, this interview was originally recorded before Rona hit us, so we were able to be in the room together face to face. Remember those days? But I reached out to Jeanine, who kindly gave me a little bit more time because I was really interested in finding out how she was doing as a doctor, obviously, in this COVID pandemic. And also, I wanted to find out what her take was on this awakening that we're now in around race. I just wanted to spend some time looking at the pandemics that we're now experiencing. Well, it's not that the pandemic of racism we've been experiencing, but we're now present to, and we're in the midst of this really extraordinary time.
I'm happy to talk about whichever one you want to. I have a lot to say on both of them.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like as a Black person, I'd be a Black person first because that's what everybody sees. So we should talk about racism first.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about coronavirus after, because I'm a Black person first and a doctor second.
Okay. That specific week where we had Amy Cooper at the beginning of the week, and then we had well, it was the next day, I think, was
Right.
the murder
So it's
of,
Amy Cooper and Christian Cooper. So
yeah, and then we
looking
had the
at
murder of George
George Floyd,
Floyd.
looking at Amy Cooper and Christian Cooper, she was willing to risk his life or get him killed because she did not want to leash her dog.
Right.
And right now, currently, he doesn't want to put charges against her, really cooperating with people. And I find it fascinating. People that call the police erroneously on brown and black people for nonsense need to know that they're going to be held accountable for it.
Right.
So she needs to be held accountable for what she did. So if you looked at the postings that day, so many people were so upset and they're calling Franklin Templeton and she must be fired and she must be this and she must be that. And then she was fired. And then later that week, I was reading something on an alternate website, as I say in quotes, and it said, oh, I hope he's happy he got her fired. No, no, no. Christian Cooper did not get her fired. Christian Cooper or his sister videotaped her going off, choking her dog, and calling the police and changing her voice to sound so panicked and say, "A black man he's threatening me. He's threatening me." And everyone saw in that moment how
Right.
fake that protest and how fake she was. If anything, she was more up in his face than he was up in her
Right.
face, and she must be held accountable. So that website that I was looking at later in the week, she got herself fired. He did not request that Franklin Templeton fire her, but shame on her. She considers herself a liberal, and she's from Canada. Looking at Derek Chauvin put his knee on the neck of George Floyd like he was a bug, a roach, a mouse, a nothing, a nothing. And he's saying, sir, I can't breathe. And he's for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And then Derek Chauvin thought he was going to go back and sleep in his bed. And Derek Chauvin thought his life was going to go on. And Derek Chauvin thought that he could perhaps do this to other people in his life. And then it came out that he knew him from a bar, restaurant, nightclub where they both worked as bouncers. And obviously Chauvin didn't like him. And then it came out that he's had this history of violent police brutality against minorities for years that's never been checked because they don't have that stuff up front for people to look at. And then it came out that his brother-in-law, the Hmong Cambodian man, stood there, the Asian one with his arms crossed. That was his brother-in-law. If anybody can give you a Chicago PD moment, I love that show, and say, yo, man, that's enough, and pull Hank Voight, the star of Chicago PD, off of the other person. Yo, man, that's enough. Where was the yo, man, that's enough from his brother-in-law? If your own brother-in-law won't tell you, cut it out, this is enough, then who will?
Right.
The level of disgust that I have for the way that police officer treated that human being. I'm delighted that so many people started realizing what we as African Americans go through every day of our lives. And I get it like you do, twofold. I get the sexism and I get the racism. And I get them both, one little heaping after another. I've traveled around the world. I did like something crazy, like 226,000 miles during the year of 2019. Now this year I'm clocking almost nothing.
Right.
But the past couple of years of just flying United constantly. Stupid questions. Is this your seat? I'm sitting in business class. No, I think it's a bus. I just sat in the first open seat. Of course, this is my seat.
Right.
Crazy questions about, would you mind switching with my friend? And then they'll point to somebody in coach and say, well, you probably got upgraded. What? Huh? Like, you're telling me that happens to other people all the time? No, I didn't get upgraded. I paid for my ticket. No, I'm not switching with your friend who's sitting in coach. And yes, you're out of your mind. And no, now I'm not going to talk to you and I'm going to be funky the whole flight. Just the level of aggression, nastiness, hatefulness, people being annoyed that I'm breathing their air. Could you put my bag up for me? Some woman that was frowning at me the entire time. We get on the plane. I got on before her. I sit down, has the nerve to ask me, could you put my bag up? I glanced up at her and I said, oh, I'm sorry. I can't lift your bag. I hurt my shoulder. Perhaps you could get a flight attendant. You realize I don't work here, right? And why is she asking me, who's already sitting down, a female in business class? You're going to tell me she would have asked a white woman? She would not have.
Right.
And so it's the little, and then the big ones, being called, nigger when I was in medical school and residency, and me having to tell a patient at 4 a.m. one day in the ER at Cornell, Upper East Side, that's Dr. Nigger to you. How dare you? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's not funny, but I was just so annoyed.
Right.
How dare you come in and then be mad that I'm black?
You know what I'm saying? How dare you? Go someplace else then. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. I mean, it's just it's just unbelievable. I have been pulled over, Shirley, multiple times, but 6 times in particular, 6 for driving while black. What do I mean by that? I have MD plates and they think that I've stolen my vehicle because they don't think I could possibly be a doctor. So the first time it happened, I was quite shocked and I was like, what do you mean? And then he's like, this car's been reported stolen. And I was like, and I said to him, excuse me, officer, these are the same plates I've had since I graduated medical school in 1992. Because I'm a cornball, Shirley. When I graduated from medical school, I was so proud.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things I did was run out and get my little MD plates because my mother has MD plates and my mother's a physician also. And I wanted my MD plates, rites of passage. So I got not specialized ones, just regular ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I put them on my little hoopty Volkswagen that I had at the time. And then I moved up to a Mazda Miata. And then I moved up to a Volvo. And now I moved up to a Mercedes convertible, which is where I'm staying.
Right.
So driving the convertible around with the MD plates on it, I have stolen my car 6 different occasions. And this is in liberal,
wow,
open-minded, supposedly not racist, mostly supposedly democratic New Jersey. Imagine if I was in Mississippi or someplace that's known to be more closed-minded, although they did just take the Confederate flag off of their flag. So I'm very proud of them for doing that in Mississippi. Pulling over, what? I stole
and
the
then
car?
and then accusing you of stealing your own car, and
then when I say to him, officer,
it's a lie.
Yeah, and I know it's a lie because I'm the only one that's ever owned those plates.
Right.
There's no chance. And so I know what to say now. I said, oh, officer, you must have keyed that in wrong because I've owned these plates since 1992. And then they're like, you didn't graduate medical school in 1992. And I'm like, well, I did. I specialize in anti-aging. So I might look like I did, but I did actually graduate then. I've handed my ID from the hospital, one of my hospital IDs from Overlook. That's a hospital I'm on staff at. And they'll look at it and they'll say, this isn't you. Giving false ID to a police officer is a crime. I would never do that.
Right.
So then you're going to argue with me about it's not me because it doesn't look like me. What do you mean? I'm scared.
Right.
And I am supposedly non-threatening. And I'm scared. I'm a doctor. I'm educated. I'm in a northern state. I'm supposed to be safe with police officers. They're supposed to make me safe. I'm scared.
Right.
I'm frightened. And we need to all understand that we're all in this together. Seeing those people lie down on that bridge, I forget if that was Washington State or Oregon, for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and knowing that the majority of them were Caucasian, they all were saying, I can't breathe, makes me want to cry. Looking at some of the different protests around the country, the Amish people shaking their tambourines and coming out in blistering hot weather a month ago to show their solidarity with George Floyd and the protests. The Syrian people, they have bombed out shelters, graffiti. They have nothing left of beautiful Damascus and their beautiful Syria, which looked like Paris from what I'm told at one point. They have nothing left. And they're like, we stand with you, George Floyd. I've seen the pictures.
Right.
In Israel, the 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence that they did. So, I mean, around the world, people are with us and feeling horribly for how African Americans, Latino Americans, let's add Native Americans to that, and certainly Asian Americans have been treated in this country. But in particular, let's speak about African Americans. We've been here for 401 years, and we are not looking for revenge. We're looking for equality.
Right.
We're looking for equality. I don't want you following me around the store. I don't want you asking me 16 times if I need help. I don't want you taking care of me the last at the gas station. I don't want you to ask me, is that your blah, blah, before I leave the store when I came in here with it. I don't want those things. Those are emotionally disruptive. And then when we wonder about COVID, and why so many Black people are succumbing to that, there's all these emotionally biased insults that add to our diabetes, add to our high blood pressure, all these microaggressions day after day. And then for me, one of the things I do is I exercise 7 days a week. So I over-exercise, but I'm too sensitive. My auntie, who didn't like me, a Jamaican woman, you're too smart for your own good, Jeanine. You're too smart for your own good. So I've always been a little too smart for my own good. I can take in so much. And I find it so insulting. I find it so insulting that I have to blow off steam. So I exercise 7 days a week, and that's how I deflect some of it. I believe in self-care. I married like a great man. He's nice, he's normal, he's funny, he's sweet, he's kind. It's almost 24 years later, and I feel lucky every day. We have a nice, normal child, just one. Wish I had two, but we have one. And she's great. Teenagers are not perfect, we try. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to marry Mr. Dysfunction from my past. We all dated one or two Mr. Dysfunctions. I wasn't doing that to myself. So part of the microaggressions, then who you're doing this, who you're doing that, it all levels out to be way too much for many people. Then you see the cancer, then you see the diabetes, then you see, you're 55 and you're having your second stroke. Like what?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
what? And then
Right.
when we're wondering why so many African Americans are susceptible to COVID, the pandemic of racism, which started, before 401 years ago, but 401 years ago for America, basically the pandemic of racism has led into the pandemic of coronavirus
Right.
and has made us so susceptible to this disease. And then there's simple things. One of my patients was asking me something about, oh, Dr. Downie, do you believe this thing about vitamin D and coronavirus? I'm not sure. I've read some conclusive arguments that if you're vitamin D deficient, you're more prone to getting coronavirus. So if you take vitamin D supplements 3 times a week, whatever, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it could really help you, why wouldn't you just take it?
Right.
If you're not sure about your vitamin D level and you want to be a purist, get your blood drawn. Wear a mask. They'll wear a mask. Get your vitamin D level drawn. See where you are in your vitamin D level, and then perhaps take the vitamin D.
Right.
But there's no reason why every single brown, like darker Latino and Black person, African American, should not be taking vitamin D right now. There's too much information out there that it might help. The coronavirus crisis for me was 7 weeks of closing my practice and putting the majority of my staff on unemployment. I shared that with you earlier before we started recording. It was one of the scariest times of my life. We had savings, so we were helped with some of that savings to be able to get through. I got a little money, but not as much money as I wanted at all. But I was able to do consulting. I did webinars. I did some clinical trial work, and I did some telemedicine. And all of those things cobbled together helped me to survive through it. And now we've been back open for a little over 2 months, and it's been quite busy. But one of the main things that I also shared with you is I kind of put my vision of how the practice was going to be safer and different during this COVID crisis on my Instagram. And I encourage my patients to watch it. And the parking lot is now the waiting room. And we are trying to have everybody fill out the paperwork before they come in here. Call them on the phone before they come in here and ask them if they've been in touch with anybody with coronavirus. Right. If they're feeling sick again, we take a temperature check. As they're coming in, we ask people, to wash their hands. We are sanitizing all the rooms, sanitizing the door handles. But one of the most important things is when we get them up to the room and they're masked and unmasked and they have to take their mask off because it's dermatology. They're showing me their face. I'm swabbing their noses with betadine. So betadine is a surgical solution that we use for, killing bacteria off the skin before surgery. It's brownish. It's well known around the world. Povidone, iodine. So unless you have an iodine allergy or a severe shellfish allergy, the majority of people can use it. There's a study that came out in April of 2020, which showed that using it intranasally or in the mouth, but we swab it up the nose. A lot of the dentists are having people gargle with it. It can prevent attachment of the common cold, the flu, and the coronavirus for up to 3 hours. So it is not something that is permanent. Obviously, it only lasts for 3 hours, but it's something that's helpful because we have nothing right now to help us with coronavirus. So if we can find something that helps us with coronavirus, this is a bit of a win. The simple, kind warnings about what not to touch and to continue washing our hands. As long as we can be smart about this, hopefully the majority of us can stay very, very, very safe. And to the people that think it's a hoax, it's not. To the people that have lost somebody, 137,000 people as of today, my heart breaks for the families, for the individuals, for the fact that they couldn't have a proper funeral.
Right.
There is in the Town and Country for the summer, there's a picture of an African-American woman from New Jersey. I'm not sure what she does, but I know she works in a morgue. She bought a ton of daffodils. I'm not sure how many. I think something like 1,500 to put on the kind of the little boxes where all the dead bodies were. because nobody was giving them a proper burial. So she took it upon herself. I'm going to get choked up, and took her own money and bought the daffodils to put on the different dead bodies. And they're different, like little, like not even caskets. They're like wooden crates, like you'd ship some furniture in, to give them some semblance of humanity.
Right.
And so she's with Oprah Winfrey gave $10 million. She's with Jeff Bezos, gave money for something. And then there's her among other people. And to me, she deserves to be there. She's a hero for doing that. So there's so many people that are trying to do so much, but I'm sad about Arizona and Florida and Texas right now, and how taxed this. I feel bad. The doctors are exhausted. And for people that want a mask waiver, that feel like wearing a thin little nothing over their face is doing something to them and making them not be able to breathe, there are people that actually have trachs. Those people shouldn't be out the house right now. They should be doing all their shopping through Instacart. They should be getting their pharmaceuticals delivered. They should not be going out at all. People that have actual trachs. As for that are breathing through their throat. As for the rest of the world that can breathe through their mouths, there are very, 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 very few actual issues where you couldn't wear a mask for more than like 20 minutes. Like everybody can wear a mask for 20 minutes. You have asthma, you have bronchitis, you have end stage, lung cancer, and you're having trouble with your oxygenation. If you pop an O2 sat monitor on most of those people, they can get through wearing a mask for the 15 minutes that they're at the store running to get their groceries. They can do it, So I the mask waivers, I just don't get. I'm not infringing upon your civil liberties. I'm trying to keep myself safe, and I'm trying to keep you safe. And this is the best way to do it. This is the best way to do it. And this is not a political anything. This is about safety for human beings. And that's all there is to it. I was speaking with a colleague in France today because I'm going to do a virtual lecture. I was supposed to be in Switzerland as of Sunday and in France next Wednesday doing some lectures. And instead I'll be in New Jersey. So I'm talking to my one of my colleagues, and I'm saying, how are things in France with coronavirus? And he's like, oh, Dr. Downie, it's like it never happened. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, I mean, we wear masks when we're out and about on the streets and stuff, but we're socially distant and our numbers are really low and the infection rate is really under control, and Macron did a good job. And I'm like, wow, I'm so happy to hear that. It's not like that at all over here. He's like, I know.
That's what's also so frustrating about where we are right now, is we absolutely don't need to be in this place, and we don't have to be there. We really didn't have to be here. And the fact that still there are people who are not practicing those very basic things that keep us safe, it just makes my head spin.
Wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance. If you have any of the symptoms, tell somebody immediately. Don't try to handle it yourself. But the two pandemics together, I have so many of my Caucasian patients coming in and saying to me, how can I help? And your white allies that you mentioned before, I love that. And I love the fact that people are concerned about what they can do. And I'm explaining to people what it is to be anti-racist.
But we are in this moment, and I'm grateful for this moment that we're in. I'm grateful that I've seen it, and that the work has begun.
We have to hold the feet to the fire of the powers that be and make sure that we can actually have no chokeholds passed. We can have the police person, male or female's record put out there for us to see. We have to actually have penalties for police officers assaulting, beating, like choking, like killing, brown and black people. There have to be penalties put in place. If things do not move forward and they're allowed to continue to brutalize us, then
nothing's going to change.
To achieve that we possibly can in this moment.
Right. Let's go back to you talking about you being a doctor.
I trained at Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York City. I was the chief resident there. I got out in 1997. I worked for other people first, and then I opened my own practice in January 2000.
Wow.
And so it's been 19 and 3/4 years at this point, almost 20 years. It's exciting. It's a lot of fun. I named my practice Image Dermatology. I figured a lot of things in my life, Shirley, when I'm out running. You know, I'm a big runner. I'm a big runner, and like the clarity, the boom. You know what I'm saying? People are like, "Oh my God, how do you do that? It's so bad for your joints." I'm like, whatever. And I figured I'd name my practice Image Dermatology one time when I was out for a run because I struggled with my own image when I was younger. Certainly as a young black girl growing up in New Jersey. I grew up in an integrated suburb of the city, Teaneck, New Jersey, one of those lovely little leafy suburbs. But yet, you know, I was on the side of town that there were more white people, and then there was a black side of town, and some people thought I was cute because I wasn't on the proper side of town in their opinion. Of course, you know, I didn't buy the house, it's my parents' house, you know, that type of thing. This is very interesting. So I struggled with my image that way, and I struggled with my image in terms of my actual physical looks because I had really bad acne. I had really, really, really bad eczema. And my hair was kind of broken off, and I was kind of chubby and, you know, awkward teenager / young adult stage. And so my mother, who's a pediatrician, I'll talk about her in a minute, but she would say, "Oh, you have great cheekbones. You'll be fine later. You're just going through a bad phase." You know it's bad when your mother can't even tell you you're cute. You know that's bad. So, and, you know, people would stop me. You know, they would say to me, "You know, if you just wash your face." And I just was taken aback by how people were just so comfortable, especially telling women, young women, about their faces. It's unacceptable. Of course, this is acne. This is not something I asked for, requested, or wanted. And why are you mentioning it? Exactly. I feel bad enough. You know what I'm saying? So then, because I'm me, I was just a younger version of me back then. I realized people are very sensitive about their weight because I had a little weight on me. So I would say to them, "Well, I didn't ask for this, but why are you so chubby?" And I can't believe you're bringing that up. Well, I can't believe you're talking about my acne. So now we're both even. You know, that type of thing. So I started with the deflection. But my mom is the first African-American female to graduate from University of Medicine and Dentistry for New Jersey way back in 1960 when it was Seton Hall Med Dent. And so it was 8 women, 7 white women and my mom. They were told, "You should be nurses, you should be moms, you should stay home, you should be secretaries, you're taking a man spot." And the 8 of them were like, whatever. And they all bonded together. They worked really hard. And I believe 1 moved to California, and I believe 2 are deceased now. But some of them still go out together into the city to see plays and that type of thing. And I call it, or I have called it in the past, the Old Medical Bags Club, because I'm mean. But there's that. But my mom encouraged me from a young age. I was always smart. I always did well in school. I, you know, was very comfortable when I was even little. I knew I was smart. You know, my grandfather, before my mom, that's my mother's dad, my maternal grandfather, was a dentist. And so he told me when I was 4 years old that I was going to be a doctor. And that I was good in science. You know, you don't take science when you're 4. But this man's telling me I'm good in science. I go to school, I'm like, I'm good in science. I hadn't even taken science yet. Turned out I was good in science. But he was a dentist back in the roaring days of Harlem in the, in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s and into the 70s. And he wanted me to be a doctor. And it was just very interesting how, you know, these people in your life that you admire, you know, really, you know, kind of shape who you are. So children live what they learn, and they learn what they live. And I see my grandfather being a successful dentist and my mother being a successful pediatrician. And I think to myself, oh, well, you know, I'll just fix my skin later. I'll just be a dermatologist. And then
That's
along
amazing.
the way, I had so many people tell me, "You want to be a dermatologist? That's that you're really reaching. That you should just, you know, be what most black women are in medicine. Be a pediatrician, be a family practice doctor. You're not going to be a super specialist in dermatology. That's out of your range." Especially there's a general surgeon from downstate, SUNY Health Science Center, Brooklyn, where I went to medical school, that just really was so rude about how I would not be able to achieve that goal, and that I just needed to get over myself. And he was 6'6", and I'm 5'6", and I said, "Oh, thank you so much." And I got up and I left his office, and I was in the hall saying all kinds of MF and blah, 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 blah in the hallway, but, you know, not in front of his face. He was 6'6", nobody's silly. You know, and he was my professor. But, you know, just many people along the way to tell me that I couldn't do it, and that made me more determined to do it.
So are you that kind of person then who, when someone says you can't, then you're more like, "I'll show you"?
I was more
Rather than,
hyper-focused. I was more hyper focused on derm after some of the meetings with people saying, oh, well, this is like a super specialty, and are your grades that good, and can you really hack it? Or just flat out, you'll never match in dermatology, type of thing. And I mean, that, it kind of takes you aback. And my mother wanted me to go into pediatrics a lot, and she wanted to practice together. And I did probably 2 months of my pediatric internship. I was at New York Hospital Cornell Medical Center. So it's on the Upper East Side. I'm in my 20s, fun. I really didn't like pediatrics. I really didn't. I said, you know what, all this education and I'm going to hate what I do, this is a bad thing.
Right.
So I said, well, I'll just switch to derm. But because of the way the match was, I had to wait a whole nother year. So I actually did 2 years of peds, and then I switched to dermatology after that. So I switched from New York Hospital Cornell to Mount Sinai. And I was blessed to get into Mount Sinai's program, and I had a really, good experience in terms of my education there. And I was, at the front of every meeting and raising my hand and asking questions and looking stuff up and research assignments and what else can I do, because I wanted to be the hands-on best dermatologist that I could possibly be. And so when your mind explodes and you're really interested in what the next step is and what the next process, and plenty of interesting mentors I met along the way too that really helped me. But I really liked skin. That's when I really clicked.
When I hear you talk about it, it's like this, when you say it clicks, there's this moment where you land in the right place.
Right.
So even though you're being called by your parents to go into different, or your grandparents, or to go into different directions, you're like, no, once you're in it, you really had the confidence to stay in the place that really spoke to you.
But with the skin, I was so sympathetic because I'd had acne, and I was so sympathetic to people saying things to my patients and feeling a certain way, and them coming in and being depressed. And you can see the evolution of disease on the skin. So you can see them getting worse in some cases, you can see them getting better in other cases. And so you can revel in their joy, or kind of like despair in their pain with them. But you can see and you can help them, with their spirit. And that just seemed like it fit me better. And then when I started looking at anti-aging and realizing all the nonsense that goes on with, oh, my boss says I look mad. And so I remember one of my African-American patients, she was tall, like 6'2" tall for a woman. And, she was in banking, and she just felt like she was at a plateau and thought she was unfriendly. And I said to her, well, you're taller than everybody else probably, so that's one thing, but you have this frown line that makes you look intimidating, and you have to realize that you need to be Botox so I can get rid of that frown line. And, oh, that's ridiculous, Dr. Downie, and I'm not doing that, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. I said, but I'm right and you're wrong, and you'll come around to it sooner or later. So I gave her other things, and we did laser, and we did some other things. And then, she started talking to her family members and asking them if she looked unfriendly. And they were all like, well, yeah, we thought you knew. And she came back to me and she's like, you're the only one that was blunt enough with me to tell me. I don't know if I should thank you or be mad at you. I said, oh, no, you should thank me. And so we did Botox on her once, right? She said once, that's it. She only wants to do it once. And we did it once. She sent me, she said she never writes handwritten notes. She grew up writing them, but she hasn't written them since she's an adult, not in finance, not the way she travels.
Right.
And she wrote me a handwritten note about how she felt happier with herself. People responded to her differently, and she was going to be doing this until she was well into her 90s. She's, advanced a lot. She moved to a different, more prestigious investment bank, and then she moved to a hedge fund. And every time I ask her, I said, well, can I just have a percentage of your earnings because of all the help that the Botox is giving you along the way? She's like, no, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. I'll just give you my Botox money and my XYZ anti-aging money, but you don't get a percentage of anything. But
no counseling.
But she felt better
money,
about herself. And it's so funny because she was not, I give myself credit for all of it. I told her, I said, you're more confident. You're going to find somebody now, watch. Because she was maybe 2 steps up in her position. It was like maybe 3.5 years later. I said, you're in the right space. You're feeling better about yourself. You're going to find somebody. She's like, oh, I've given up on men, Dr. Downie, whatever. The men are all awful and this, that, and the other thing. She did find somebody, and I gave myself credit for that. And she came into my office like, she didn't even want to tell me because she loves me parading around saying, I told you so. But she's still my patient now, and she lives in a different city, and she refuses to let anybody else do her face. So it's quite funny.
So she comes to you still.
Yeah. She's in like every 4 months. She comes 3 times a year, like clockwork. You could set your watch. So it's great.
So that you've really seen how the increasing confidence, which was your experience as well, you know, the impact that it had on you, that you're gifting that as well through your work. It's like, makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just fun. With dermatology, you can treat young and old, you can treat male and female, you can treat all skin types, all races, you can, do cosmetic, you can do surgical, you can do oncology with skin cancer. It's, what is it? I think it's 5.1 million people were diagnosed with skin cancer in 2018.
Wow.
According to the Skin Cancer Foundation. And that number's just going up and up and up. And it's ridiculous because so many people with skin of color are like, oh, that's not going to be me. And of course, we have skin cancer also, and we can die from skin cancer. And so everybody has to wear sunblock every single day. I love to say rain or shine, January through December, regardless of your ethnicity.
Now this, I have to say, has surprised. Now I have it in my, what would you call it? It's in my
your beauty cream?
My cream, right? But I big confession, I have it as a summer thing still.
No.
And even though
You'll age slower.
You'll
age slower. Your skin will be even longer. You'll age slower. You'll predispose yourself less, just because you'll get less potential skin cancers, less dark circles under your eyes. The minute I say dark circles, people are like, okay, I'll wear it. You'll get less fine lines and wrinkles over time. Your pore size will look better, and your skin will look healthier. So those are all wins in terms of what I tell my patients. And
that's just from wearing
a constant SPF of 30 or more. It can't be below a 30.
Right.
Every single day, rain or shine. And I tell my patients that another thing they don't realize, because I'm way into the nerd factor of being a doctor. Like, I'm proud that I'm a nerd. I'm good with it. I've always been a bit of a nerd. I married a man that's a bit of a nerd. It's all good. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's interesting because people don't realize we react to indoor and outdoor lighting. So that means that if you're reacting to indoor lighting, you need to wear sunblock while you're inside, Shirley.
What do you mean?
So we react to indoor and outdoor lighting. So it's not, the indoor lighting is not necessarily going to give you skin cancer, but there's an article that came out in Nature back in 2015 that proves through photobiology that we react as human beings to indoor and outdoor lighting. So it's not if you're white and from Scotland, you'll react, and if you're brown and from Ghana, you won't react. That's not true. Everybody of every skin type reacts to indoor and outdoor lighting. So when you're sitting in lighting at your office or at your home, you're reacting to the indoor lighting. In addition, we react to the blue light of our phone, the blue light of the computer. So you have to not only get up and wash your face in the morning the days you're staying home, but you have to put sunblock on. So I just tell people, wash your face, brush your teeth, and put sunblock on the days that you're working from home. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill you. It'll make you age slower.
That is a mind-blowing
And I tell people,
moment.
face, your neck, and the backs of your hands in particular, because those are the three telltales. Because you can look at somebody's face, and if their face is amazing, but then their neck is falling apart, that's not good. And then if you look at somebody's face and neck and they're good, then their hands might be falling apart. So I tell people face, neck, and the backs of your hands.
Your hands can look older than your rest of
your I mean, hands are one of our, chief places that we start aging. We use them all the time. We're driving, the sun damage. We neglect them.
Driving, of course.
Yeah. And so the sun's rays are beating on our hands, that type of thing. I mean, I take off a ton of skin cancers in Black and white people from their hands, and Asian and Latino from their hands, from driving. We did something fun at Mount Sinai, and we looked at cab drivers, and we looked at their left hand, which is hanging out the window half the year, if not more, compared to their right part of their body, and it looked like two different people. And quite frankly, looking at truck drivers' faces after a while looked like two different people, left side of face to right side of face, because the sun's coming in through the window. Because sun comes in through windows also, another thing people don't realize, because UVB are deflected, but UVA come rolling right through. So, interesting. Aging
listen, let's talk about then seniors wellness, because in the Black community we say there's a couple of things that we say. There are phrases in the Black community. Black don't crack.
Yes, it does.
And just a little bit later maybe. And so Black don't crack is one of the things. And the other thing is, so let's talk about skin cancer. Black people don't need sunblock, which I know that's not the truth, but I didn't know that. I knew that when I was in the summer months that I have to apply my sun cream, but I did not know that you had to apply it when you're inside. I definitely didn't know that, and I didn't know you have to apply every single day.
Every single day. Yep, every single day. And so black does crack. It can crack slower, but it doesn't necessarily crack slower. It depends on your facial muscles. You know, what are your genetics? So if your parents frown a certain way, you might frown that certain way. I mean, I do. My parents genetically, I look at the way they're aging and I look at their frown patterns and I look at my own frown pattern, but I stopped my frown pattern back when I was 30 because I've been Botoxing since I'm 30. I'm as vain as they come and I'm not afraid to mention it.
Right.
Don't care if somebody knows it. Anybody names their practice image dermatology is clearly vain.
Right.
And I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like I'm, you know, like flighty or anything like that. I'm here to help. But the bottom line is people credit me with how they look and how they feel, and there's no price tag on how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
We hear all these stories about people that don't feel good about themselves, that have done all these crazy things to themselves, to other people,
right,
at their workplace, you know, whatever like that. Perhaps if they felt better about themselves, those things wouldn't happen. And so there's a big psychiatry component to dermatology also. And we always joke and we say they're linked. I took biology and psychology in undergraduate when I was at Tufts University.
Right.
And I love trying to understand why people do what they do and how we can change mindsets. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then how you can change your mindset of who you are a little bit is clearly the most powerful, right?
Yeah,
Change your
absolutely,
own
which
mindset.
is all my work.
Yeah,
you know,
change it's
change your
amazing.
mindset, you shift your circumstances.
And just looking, we were talking about, you know, Maya Angelou when we were upstairs before, and we both are very enamored with her. And I just love
Maya.
I love the quote, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time.
Right.
That's my favorite quote of hers. Right. And I met her on the set of the Today Show, probably 2 years or so before she passed away. And I was shaking and my voice was trembling and I got tears in my eyes and I was just like so overwhelmed with like getting to meet, you know, this, you know, goddess to me.
Yes.
And, you know, I remember saying to her, oh my God, you're like my idol. And, you know, and she was like, no, you child are fabulous. And she took my hands and it was a moment. You know, it was really a moment. And in that inner healing that I'm trying to do through the practice of medicine and you're trying to do through your She's Got Drive podcast, where you can teach women that they can do and they should do and they will do and they must do.
Right.
We're both trying to heal. We're trying to heal in different ways.
Yeah.
But we're both looking, I think that one of the reasons you're so enamored with her is because you're looking at the quotes and the power and the woman and how she rose above. And so, and your podcast is all about rising above.
Yeah. She was just, I mean, when I discovered her in my teens, she became like everything. Like I just devoured all her books and different versions of poetry books. It was like the same book with different covers. Like, I'll just take it, you know, it became like that. And then anytime where she was, you would find me in London. Maya Angelou, I'm there, you know, right there, and living by her wisdom.
Right.
And
we all need to have mentors.
And
no one does it by themselves.
Exactly.
And people that say they do it by themselves are frightening and probably should be steered clear of, because no one does it by themselves. No,
you can't do it by yourself.
You need mentors.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You need advice. You need support. You need suggestions. You need wisdom
guides.
from other people. You can't
Exactly.
see all perspectives on everything, especially a situation or a problem that you're very close to. You just can't.
What's your favorite quote, actually? You said your favorite quote. What's your second favorite quote?
I like Khalil Gibran a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I really
the
Lebanese writer.
The Prophet. He wrote the book, The Prophet.
Yes. So what is it? Out of massive suffering. Something about out of massive suffering comes personalities that are seared with scars. And he talks about how, you know, you overcome the scars and become a better person and you're stronger for it and you're better for it. And that's not the exact quote, you know, but he talks about out of suffering comes scars and comes wisdom and comes your true personality and your true self. And just, you know, I think about, you know, my family looked great from the outside, but unfortunately very dysfunctional.
Okay.
And so that was disappointing to me, to say the least, when I understood, you know, this is them, this is not me, you know, that type of thing. And my parents had a rocky marriage and then it ended. And so that was them. That wasn't me.
Right.
And then there's some time at some point that you realize that you can't be dragged into your family vortex of dysfunction. You just have to move forward on your own,
Right.
you know, or continue to get dragged down and continue to be, you know, assaulted. But the Khalil Gibran quote about, you know, the suffering of your soul and how it makes you seared with scars. The scars can actually make you a horrible person who does terrible things and doesn't want to move forward, or it can make you a better person that's more sympathetic to other people that wants to move forward and do your best.
Right.
And so I choose option B, the wanting to move forward and do my best, but I am so sympathetic to others, and just, you know, there's a level of crazy, you know, that is just part of, you know, the life of Jeanine Downie. I've never talked to anyone who came back from, where was I coming back from? Just a hilarious short story. I was coming back from Cambodia and Vietnam, so I was over there lecturing.
Okay.
We had gone to an orphanage to do some good work with the children. And, you know, I was in Cambodia and I'm going for a run, and I go past the front desk and drop my keys, and they're like, oh, by the way, please just only run on the cement. And I'm like, yeah. And he just said, no, please stop, doctor, and turn and look at me. And I turned around and I said, what's wrong? He said, no, doctor, you have to run on the cement because there's all these unexploded devices, you know, IEDs that are like thrown in the grass places, and we don't know where they are, and tourists have blown off their feet before. I said, okay, thank you. You have my attention. I promise I'll stay on the cement now. You know, so I'm going out for my runs. I'm doing my thing. We did some good work.
Right.
You know, I bought some fun stuff back for my family.
I was wondering how this podcast is about obviously Black women's success and how they achieve the success. So when you think about the word success and an achievement of that, what does it mean to you? You know, at what point do you think you like achieved success?
Okay. Well, I still feel like I'm one of these type A people, Shirley, that feels like I have many miles to go before I sleep. One of the things that really, this is a nerd one, that really made me feel so successful was that now I've published over 50 papers in peer-reviewed scientific journals.
Oh, wow.
So I published 56 papers, and I'm super proud of that. So that's was like
amazing.
One of those kind of like, you know, now you're successful. But of course, I was successful when I published 5 of them, but now I published over 50. And I always wanted to get on the podium because one of my mentors got on the podium one time, and he said, I published over 50 papers. And I was like, I want to do that. You know, that type of thing. So that was one of the moments of my life where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm successful with my paper writing.
Yeah.
So, but for what I do, so I have a private practice. I work with Megan Kara, that's my physician assistant back in Montclair, New Jersey. She's fabulous. So it's me and Megan together against the world. Then I publish papers for peer-reviewed journals. You have to publish in order to be asked to lecture in all these sexy places. So I told you I have 5 lectures while I'm here in Chicago at my biggest meeting of the year that's starting this evening. And so you know, you publish, then you lecture. So I see patients in my private practice, I publish, I lecture, and then I do a lot of clinical trials for top-tier pharmaceutical companies. I mostly do cosmetic clinical trials because I want to stay cutting edge with what's coming out. If it's good, I want firsthand experience. I want to know, I want to be able to tell my patients and inform them what I think is great, what I think is just okay, and perhaps what I think they should stay away from. So I do that. And then I do a lot of high-line consulting for the same pharmaceutical companies and for companies outside of pharma that want to get, you know, kind of a window into dermatology. So that's exciting for me as well. And then I do a bit of TV. I do the Today Show and Good Morning America and Dr. Oz and The View, and I love all of that. And so that's a lot of fun for me. You know, a little baby piece of me when I was a little kid, I had no singing voice, so that was out. But a little baby piece of me was like, oh, acting would be so fun. So I get on TV and I get to be an actress for 3 minutes in a Today Show segment, and that's precious to me. That's fun to me. You know, and then I am a wife of 23 years to my lovely husband, Michael, and I'm a mother to my 16-year-old Jade, my daughter. So, you know, I have 7 jobs, as it were.
Yeah, that's
my background is West Indian, so you know they always say West Indians have a bunch of jobs.
So, which island?
Jamaica for my dad's family and Guyana for my mother's family. And getting back to your question about success, so for me, some of success was being able to get these high-level consulting jobs and get these high-level clinical contracts and just bring them in and be able to, you know, synthesize this and get this done. And, you know, I just really like that. I work with my office manager, her name is Giovanna, for the past wow, like it's 19 and a half years I've worked with her. She came
Wow.
a month after I started my practice. She's a very loyal employee, and she helps me run the clinical trials, and we get this done, and we do a great job, and she's just fantastic. And so that's just been a pleasure that I can rely on somebody and trust somebody, and and have somebody on my team that I can really make sure that she has my interest at heart and I have hers at heart, and we can kind of move forward as a team. And so that's been fantastic. And just clinical trials mean that I get to include brown skin and black skin in my clinical trials. So you do get that. So that was a modicum of success for me, because too many pharmaceutical companies and cosmetic companies don't test on types 4, 5, and 6 skin. So type 4 would be like your average, like kind of middle-skinned Indian person. Type 5 skin would be like my skin color, and type 6 would perhaps be your skin color.
Right.
And people don't test enough on brown skin. And how is that fair? We need to be tested on too, so we can make sure that things are safe and appropriate and efficacious and proper for us. We're people. We deserve that. And so me being involved in these clinical trials, I get to test on brown skin. So that to me was another measure of success, that I get to do this. I wanted to do this. I get to do this. That's important for me, to have a seat at the table for these clinical trials. And sometimes I get them and sometimes I don't.
Right.
Sometimes I think that's fair and sometimes I don't. That type of thing. But all of that. And then just being able to be on TV and be known as a key opinion leader. That's a modicum of success. I'll never forget the first time this white guy that I was really good friends with said to me, Jeanine, you're a KOL. And I was like, I am. I'm a key opinion leader. Oh my God, I have to go home and celebrate. And I hadn't thought about it like that before. It wasn't in my brain space, Shirley? So all of those different things, but it's just steps and levels. And I have many miles to go before I sleep. I'm writing a book right now. I have no spare time, so I'm joking and saying in my spare time, but I have no spare time. We have a...
and you've written a book before, though.
I've written Beautiful Skin of Color, which is a comprehensive guide for Asian, olive, and dark skin, which was released in 2004 by HarperCollins, and it did fine, but it didn't do well.
Okay.
I'm writing a second book right now, hoping that it does very, very, very well, and some more personal book, and it's just me as the main author, and so that's exciting. And then myself and 4 board-certified dermatology friends of mine decided that we were going to get together and try to do The View for dermatology. So we have a new show called The Gist, G-I-S-T, like get it, like the dermatologist.
Yeah.
So, but if you just type in The Gist, you'll go to this very religious show, and I'm not trying to convert anybody. So you have to go to youtube.com/The Gist Show.
Okay.
And we're literally trying to make it like a dermatology for The View, so like a dermatology version of The View. So Allergan supported 5 episodes, and they're going to support another 5 episodes.
Wow.
And then we're hoping it gets picked up, but it's non-branded, so it's not like it's a commercial for Allergan. And it's the 5 of us, myself, who's African American, Sabrina is Spanish, her family's from Spain, she's from California. Ruth is Jewish from Boston, Doris is Persian, Jewish from New York City, and me, and then Ava Shambam. She is my Beverly Hills Jewish woman, as I like to call her. So it's the 5 of us, and we have different degrees of TV experience. We're loving it. So we're releasing it slowly on YouTube, and so far so good. And if your listeners want to subscribe to my youtube.com, I'll say it again, /The Gist, G-I-S-T show.
Okay.
I would love that, because we need subscribers in order to really be considered to be picked up. And this is a lot of dermatology information from 5 people with 5 points of view that we're excited about.
You've accomplished so much.
Thank you.
Passionate about what you're doing. What's your something else? What else do you want to do apart from being on 60 Minutes? Just keep it saying it often enough.
Put that in the ether. Put that in the ether. I would love for this the Gist show that I mentioned to you before, my YouTube show. I would love for that to get picked up by a syndicated, and become a syndicated show that we tape out of New York. That would be fabulous for me to be on TV all the time. Yeah. I love that. My level of like I know that I get nervous. I get nervous lecturing before high school students, and they don't even know anything. So I got nervous before this podcast. I get nervous before all of it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a certain part of me that's humble. That's like, what am I doing? Why am I sitting down on the Today Show? Why am I sitting down with Shirley McAlpine? What's happening now? Right. But I get nervous. But that would be great to be on TV all the time. I love the energy that it brings me. I love the people that I could reach. I love having positive African American role models for our children.
Right.
Yes. For our children out there on TV. I don't want them to see the guy in the orange jumpsuit and the handcuffs. I want them to see me.
Yes.
Being a doctor, being on TV, and say, "Oh, that's a female doctor. She seems really happy. Maybe that's something I should do."
Right.
I want those positive role models. I want those images. I want, what do they call those, media impressions? I want that to be the media impression. Just being a media impression alone is a big deal. So I would love for the gist to get picked up. I would love my book to be at least as good as Michelle Obama's book. I don't know if that would happen. You know what I'm saying? But I would love that. I would find that fabulous. I would love for my daughter to get into the college of her dreams. I would love to continue traveling and lecturing around the world. And I would love to keep bringing my perspective on dermatology and what it is that I'm doing to other people. And then, of course, I didn't say this before, but there's a certain amount of young women that I try to mentor and talk to and lecture. And, just like, you're valuable. Your body's valuable. Your mind's valuable. Your space is valuable. You're valuable. In terms of what they want to do and why they shouldn't put up with less than what they want to put up with, less than they think that they should put up with.
Right, less than they deserve, maybe.
Yeah.
And even kind of that, whatever that thought about what you deserve, that we elevate that. We are. There's so many messages in our environment that reinforces that you're less than, or you're not worthy, or. We were talking, I was talking earlier to a client this morning about the crazy when I think about the kids that are sent home because of their black hair from school. And
oh my God.
It makes me so mad. I've had the experience in the school where my son has very, very curly hair, where the question was, can it not be curly, was one of the questions.
And why is that anybody else's interest?
I've
seen the pictures of your son. He's fabulous.
Right.
And his hair is fabulous.
Can it not be curly? It's just like,
is he blocking someone else's view?
No, it
literally
cannot be
see
curly.
On me. So I would say to the teacher, is he blocking someone's view? Perhaps that person, if they're shorter, shouldn't sit in front of him. Or sit to the side of him.
Crazy.
Like, what do you do? I can't. So
it's
so
many things
our
like
paradigm
that.
as a society needs to become more accepting,
right,
of every culture, everything, every hairstyle, everyone.
I appreciate you sharing so much. I appreciate your stand. I appreciate how much you are accomplishing.
Thank you.
And
thank you very much.
And I really, so one of the things that I believe is, even though we're not like in the room with you, like, you are shifting the paradigm and shifting the DNA of the space that you work in, that allows for someone who may never ever meet you, but will allow for her to enter that room at some point in the future, allows for us to step into spaces that it's not even, that isn't my space, it's another space, but because you're occupying that space, you give space to another, and I really, really believe that. And so I just really appreciate everything that you're doing. And I'm looking forward to your new program with the four of you, like sharing.
Actually, five of us.
Is there five of you?
Yep.
Yeah.
YouTube.com/The Gist Show.
The Gist Show.
And
it's
then
so great.
My website is imagedermatology.com for your listeners, so you can check me out.
And are you on Instagram as well?
I'm on Instagram. I'm just Jeanine Downie on Instagram. So JeaninDonie for the 30% Scottish woman that I am.
I hope that you've been inspired to shift gears in your own life. When I left my interview or my time with Jeanine, I was struck by so many things, but there was a couple of things that really stood out for me. Was the power of having such a strong sense of yourself. And that's your sense on the inside, and your strength being grounded on the inside that reflects on the outside. So much of the conversation when we think about her work is just like, what does it look like on the outside, and how do we take care of ourselves on the outside? But so much of what she exhibits and stands for and shares about and who she is about our strength and our beauty on the inside, and how we stay grounded, and how we really get who we are. And so that's one of the things that struck me. about my time with her. I'm curious to hear what you took away from your time listening to this interview. So please reach out to me and let me know what you got. You can contact me at Shirley McAlpine on my Instagram. You can find me on She's Got Drive Facebook page, or you could go to my website, shirleymcalpine.com/contact me, and send me a message there. She's Got Drive is produced by Cassandra Voltalina. The music is by the awesome all-female band Blonde. The song is called Circles. Until next time, go well and stay well.